Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about how good the Soviet T-54-55 tank was and why it's the best tank of all times. So let's start right away. The T-54-55 tank was mechanically very simple and robust, as well as very easy to operate and maintain. And that wasn't by coincidence. It was specifically designed to be easy to use with little training. Compared to Western tanks of its time, it did not require a highly skilled crew to be effective in battle. One reason why this was so important was because the T-54-55 had been exported to many different nations. The Soviets provided them with a solid tank which they could use and easily transform to fit their needs. That's also why it has seen so many battles throughout the world and has been used in many different environments. The T-54-55 had very good mobility thanks to its relatively light weight of about 35 to 36 tons, which was about 15 to 20 tons less than most Western main battle tanks of its time. This also made it very easy to transport by rail or flatbed truck and even allowed crossing of lighter bridges. Another important factor for its good mobility were its wide tracks, which were up to 580 mm thick. Wide tracks gave lower ground pressures and enabled good mobility on soft ground. Its tracks, combined with the light weight, also allowed the T-54-55 to cross areas where most main battle tanks like the Centurion, Patton or AMX usually sank or got stuck. By the 1950s standards, the T-54 had very good firepower and armor protection, with a D10T 100mm gun and up to 205mm thick armor. It also had the PKT and the DSK machine gun, which were better than the standard Western ones. Talking about protection, the T-55 was also the first generation tank to introduce a protective suit to provide NBC protection to its crew. Soviet researchers found out that the survivability of their tanks and crew members against nuclear, biological and chemical weapons was quite poor, so they saw the need for protection against such weapons. As very typical for Soviet and Russian tanks, the T-54-55 was a very low-profile tank, almost 30% lower than Western tanks. This made it a harder target to see and hit. Now, there are a lot of people who think that the T-54-55 was a bad tank, but this bad reputation largely comes from the poor record of Arab tanks during the war against Israel. Many of the Arab tanks had been destroyed, and it's true that the numbers don't look good, but there's one important thing to keep in mind. The poor record was mostly because the Arab tank crews have been trained quite poorly, while Israeli tank crews were trained very well. And in other wars, the T-54-55 performed outstanding. In Vietnam, for example, the North Vietnamese armies, T-54 and 55s, were very successful in battles against the South Vietnamese forces equipped with American M48 Pattons. Now, the main reason why the T-54-55 tank is arguably the best tank of all times is because of its adaptability. It can quite easily be upgraded significantly to resist modern cannons. They can have more than enough firepower and very good combat systems to compete with modern tanks and perform well in modern warfare. And even if you don't upgrade the tank, there are many other ways in which it can be used effectively against enemy forces. It can be used in ambushes or as fortified positions, providing indirect fire support for infantry. A dug-in T-54 with some sandbags around it will surely get the job done. The T-54 and the T-55 may have not been the best tanks of their time, but they definitely are the best tanks of all time and will probably be used in conflicts around the globe for a couple of more decades. This is all I have to say for this video. If you made it till here, thank you a lot, and I'll see you in the next video.